So let's go to our royal news now. And the big sort of bombshell thing that's landed is the memoir that's been written by Earl Spencer. That's, of course, the brother of Princess Diana.
I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it, and I read it to her in there. And I did sort of feel a sort of positive energy.
Princess Diana's brother has kept one rule for almost 30 years. Say nothing. No interviews, no memoir, not one public word about Meghan Markle. So, when reports surfaced that Charles Spencer had broken that silence, royal watchers leaned in fast because his verdict carries a weight nobody else alive can match.
There are very big questions still out there for me as to the broader picture of how something like this could have happened.
But here is what makes it disturbing. It was not an outburst or a leaked conversation. According to recent reporting, it came through a single decision made behind the gates of Althorp, and the most damning comment he has ever made about Meghan Markle required no words at all. The man who vanished. To understand what he did with that proposal, you have to understand the man holding it. For almost 3 decades, Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer, has been the most silent famous man in Britain. No interviews, no memoir, no commentary on the nephew he adored, or the marriage that split the monarchy in two. Most people can name exactly one moment.
Mourners line the street, numbering in the thousands. Diana touched the lives of so many in her 36 years, and people of all backgrounds take her loss heavily.
Westminster Abbey, the 6th of September, 1997. A global audience of roughly 2 billion. A young man in a black suit at a lectern, delivering a eulogy so charged that applause from the crowds outside rolled straight into the Abbey. And one word in that eulogy matters more than all the others. He promised. He promised that Diana's sons would be raised with warmth and imagination, shielded from the cold institutional machinery that had ground down their mother. He promised her blood family would never let the system swallow them. He said it to the Queen's face, to the future king sitting a few feet away, and he did not flinch once. Then he vanished back to Northamptonshire, and that abbey was the last time most of the world really looked at him. An entire industry was built on his sister, and Charles Spencer has never once loaned out the originals, never sold the archive, never licensed the grounds, never given the interview that cracks the vault open even an inch. So, the real question was never why he stayed silent for 30 years. It is what finally landed on his desk that forced an answer out of him, and who sent it. The jewelry trail. It began with something small and lovely, and apparently innocent. The royal wedding, 2018, the evening reception. Meghan arrived wearing Diana's aquamarine ring, that pale blue stone instantly recognizable to anyone who ever followed her story. From where Charles Spencer stood, it likely felt rather beautiful. Someone new, someone his nephew loved, carrying Diana into the biggest night of her life. It felt like remembrance. Then came the butterfly earrings, the Cartier watch, the gold bracelets. Piece by piece, items that had once belonged to Diana kept surfacing on Meghan at precisely the moments when a photograph was not just likely, but guaranteed. Major events, choreographed arrivals, maximum lens coverage.
What do we know about jewels or a crown or tiara?
I feel certain the jewelry will be from Diana's collection, and I think she'll have a beautiful tiara that will definitely be from Diana.
And to be fair, nobody can prove the intention was anything other than genuine tribute. Grief does strange and tender things inside families. But sit with the harder question. When does tribute become a pattern? And when does a pattern start to look like a strategy? Once is tribute, twice is habit. Every time, time to a certain camera becomes a decision. And the man at Althorp was quietly watching all of it. Before we go deeper, do one small thing for me. Tap subscribe. This channel sits with the quiet stories, the ones built on silence and on people guarding a truth everyone else is racing to sell. Because the jewelry was only the opening act. The Oprah Echo, March 2021. The whole planet remembers the interview. But picture it the way Charles Spencer reportedly experienced it. Watching alone from the house where Diana grew up. Low golden lighting, a soft confessional setting. One woman, one sympathetic interviewer, one faceless institution that had, she said, silenced her, dismissed her pain, and left her only one open door, straight to the public. If you know recent royal history, the chill of recognition hit instantly, because that is almost beam for beam the architecture of Diana's 1995 Panorama interview. A royal wife, isolated, describing an institution deaf to her suffering, going over its head straight to the nation through one trusted interviewer. The lighting, the casting, the entire grammar of it rhymes. Only one element changed, and it matters most of all. Diana spoke while still trapped inside the system, with everything to lose. The 2021 version was filmed from a villa in California after the exit, with a streaming empire already in motion. The original was a cry for help. The remake, whatever else you believe about it, was a launch. And watching from his sister's childhood home, Charles Spencer reportedly did not experience that hour as tribute at all. To understand why it cut so deeply, you need to know a secret most coverage never touches. The secret guilt. By long-standing accounts, it was Charles Spencer himself who first brought his sister into contact with Martin Bashir, the journalist behind the 1995 Panorama interview. And a formal inquiry led by a former Supreme Court justice later established exactly how that interview was obtained. Forged bank statements, fabricated evidence suggesting people close to Diana were secretly being paid to spy on her, manufactured betrayal, designed to convince a frightened, isolated woman that everyone around her was an enemy and her only safe move was to sit in front of a camera and bleed for the nation. Her vulnerability was not a side effect of that broadcast. It was the product. And her younger brother, deceived by those same fake documents, had unknowingly held the door open. The inquiry found the forgeries induced him into arranging the meeting, and the BBC's Director General eventually apologized to him directly.
It's clear to me that there are certain people who were in the BBC who have behaved in a way that is truly abysmal and possibly criminal.
Think about what that does to a person. You spend your life as your sister's protector. You vow before the world to shield her sons. And then decades later, you learn the most damaging media event of her life walked in through a door you were tricked into opening. By every account, everything since has been quiet atonement. The sealed archives, the refusals year after year, the decision to bury her on the island at Althorp rather than hand her back to the institution, the home movies and handwritten diaries nobody outside the family has ever touched. He has spent 30 years making certain that nothing like Panorama can ever happen to Diana again, even in death. In doing so, he protected her mystery. There is a real, unguarded, fully human Diana the world never got to consume, and she survives only because one man kept saying no, until the day a courier arrived asking for everything at once. The pitch. The concept, by these accounts, was a grand anniversary documentary for 2027, 30 years since Paris, an emotional, cinematic, definitive Diana film fronted by her own son. On paper, irresistible, and reporting suggests Netflix loved it immediately. But look at what the project reportedly required. Althorp itself, the childhood home, the grounds, the island, the private archives, Diana's handwritten diaries, pages she wrote only for herself, the home movies that have never been seen. Without those, just another documentary of recycled clips. With them, the definitive Diana film of the century. And there was one more element, the one that made the pitch magnetic to its sellers and unthinkable to its reader. It reportedly wanted to draw a straight line between Diana's war with the establishment and Meghan's, positioning Meghan Markle as the modern continuation of the woman who refused to be silenced. Diana's halo, formally transferred. According to the reporting, Spencer shut it down and refused all access to the archive. No press conference, no interview, no statement, nothing to a camera at all. He simply closed the door. And for a man who had guarded his silence for 30 years, that refusal was the loudest thing he had ever said about Meghan Markle. Within days, by these accounts, commentators were framing it not as family stubbornness, but as a verdict. The one member of Diana's blood family with nothing to gain and nothing to sell, drawing a line the palace never could. Some reportedly called it the most significant move anyone connected to Diana had made in years. Others, a quiet act of war. Either way, the man who never speaks had been heard. The rescue flare. To understand why this documentary mattered so desperately, Look at the Sussex media empire heading into 2026. The flagship lifestyle series meant to steady the ship became the iceberg instead. The Times handed it 2 stars and dismissed it as dull. And The Guardian, the one outlet predisposed to love it, gave it a single star. In Netflix's own engagement reporting for the back half of 2025, the series reportedly ranked 1,217th. When the entire press converges on the same verdict, that is not a review problem. That is a product problem. One, detail sharpens it. The couple's debut documentary about their royal exit remains one of the most watched debuts in Netflix history. Everything since has met steadily cooler responses. The world is not buying the lifestyle brand. It is buying royal wounds. So when the brunch economy collapsed, the pitch reached for the deepest wound there is. That film was never a passion project. It was a rescue flare, and the man at Althorp let it burn out. The unlicensed currency stripped the emotion away and look at it purely as assets. When Harry and Meghan stepped back from their working roles, the single most valuable asset they held was Diana, her face, her myth, her martyrdom. In business terms, the operation had been trading on a brand without a license, because the actual license holder, the keeper of the archive, was a 62-year-old man in Northamptonshire nobody appears to have thought to consult.
The most important thing for me was the obvious reality that my sister wasn't around anymore, and I wanted to speak for her honestly and truly and fully. And that was it, really. That's all I tried to do.
Watch the ledger climb. 2018, the aquamarine ring, warmly received. Then the earrings, the watch, the bracelets, each time to a guaranteed lens. 2021, the panorama architecture rebuilt brick by brick. Then the streaming series, her tragedy converted into their origin story. And finally, a request for the vault itself. They began by borrowing her jewelry. They ended by asking for her soul. Each withdrawal larger than the last, each made without a word to the man who keeps the account. And the final one bounced. The only no now, the part royal watchers keep underestimating, who in this drama is actually free to say no. Prince William has reportedly been privately unhappy for years about the commercialization of his mother's image. But he is the future king. He cannot publicly block his own brother's projects without manufacturing a global headline about palace censorship and a family at war. When the institution blocks something, it reads as the establishment protecting itself. But when Diana's own brother, the man who vowed before 2 billion people to protect her sons, refuses a project outright, that is not institutional control. That is family honor, and nobody can spin it. The one person free to shut the door is the one whose refusal cannot be weaponized against the crown. William never had to lift a finger. Where things stand. And the deeper fracture has not moved an inch. By recent accounts, there may be appetite for a limited thaw with Harry, but almost none where Meghan is concerned, and it reportedly comes down to one word: trust. There is none. The family's deepest fear is reportedly not her anger, but her content calendar. The worry that every private conversation becomes raw material, filed, packaged, and shipped as the next streaming product. That is the real inheritance of this saga. 2 brothers who cannot find the road back to each other, and a family watching from behind a gate that stays locked. So, stand in both pairs of shoes. Imagine you are William, and the most painful event of your childhood is being scheduled as a content drop by your brother's production partners. Now, imagine you are Harry, told that the story of your own mother, the woman who walked you through hospital wards and shelters to show you what your privilege was for, is somehow not yours to tell. Both positions hurt. Both are human. And if you are hunting for a villain, it does not live at Althorp or Montecito or Kensington Palace. It lives in the machinery wrapped around the grief, the apparatus that looks at a mother's handwritten diaries and calculates their streaming value. So, here is the question to carry out of here. Is it ever right to spend Diana's legacy as currency, even by her own son? Was her brother right to shut the vault? Or does Harry's grief give him a claim no gatekeeper can override? Tell me exactly where you land in the comments, because I read them and I genuinely want to know. And subscribe so you are here the moment anything moves, because the next chapter belongs to a desperate Montecito. And whatever it does next, you and I are going to talk about it.